Is it hard to access affordable, healthy food? Then listen carefully. Darrell Addison, an African-American inventor, has patented a process for growing food on demand. He called it Torpedo Pot. Torpedo Pot is a fully automated flower pot that gives you control over your plant's environment. All you do is add soil, seeds, and plants to the flower pot and watch it grow. Yes, Torpedo Pot grows the rest. Visit www.torpedopot.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let's go ahead and give you a hand clap for coming in on to the live stream this afternoon. It is, Thursday already? Man, it's Thursday. We got, Friday tomorrow, and I don't know if your kids still out on spring break. I don't know, but shout out to the kids. Shout out to them. We're going to talk about something that was, definitely a presentation in Congress. And, we want to have that conversation a little bit about, birth rates. And, this overarching theme about birth rates definitely, that's being spoken of by the per capita community. And we will get to that shortly. But I want to pick up also from yesterday while we're waiting for more people to get in, is that I want to address a comment, because I know in the beginning of the live stream yesterday, we was talking about TikTok and the House, passing a ban on TikTok. And one person said it'd be good to ban TikTok because their 10-year-old child is, always on that app. Now, let me say something about that. It's a 10-year-old child. You're paying for whatever device that your 10-year-old child is on. So you mean to tell me you're allowing a 10-year-old child to have unrestricted access to the internet as a parent? You're not grabbing that tablet or whatever device they're using, looking at it, looking at the apps. Or, if you want to restrict your children, even when they're downloading, you can put a password and they cannot download anything unless the password is put in. It's called parental controls. Now, maybe you say, well, they'll go to TikTok on the browser and see it like that way. Okay, maybe they could, possibly. But why aren't you monitoring your children? They're 10 years old. I have a child that's about to be 10 later this year. And what I do with her tablet, I just randomly go and say, hey, let me see that tablet. And random. Not because I'm looking for something, it's just random. I just want to see what you're doing on there. And if it's something that I don't like, then I don't allow her to have it on there. Prime example. My daughter does not, I had deleted TikTok off of her tablet, and I said, no, you can't be on no TikTok because of a question she came ask me one time. Just a question out the blue. And I said, where do you get that from? Right? And then she showed me it was on TikTok. I said, I deleted the app and said, if I catch that app on this tablet, I'm taking the tablet. You're not getting it back. And I'm very serious about that. They know if I tell you, I'm gonna do it. So it's your responsibility as a parent with underage children to monitor what they're watching, what they're downloading, etc. Why does the government got to download something because you're being a poor parent? That's all there is to it. You're being a poor parent. And all this social media moderation, well, people are going to see it and kids. No, what you're doing is saying that you're not monitoring your children or what they're watching or what they're doing. Why aren't you monitoring them? See, what some of y'all do is you use those tablets as a parent. That's what some of you do in this country. And I'm talking about all communities. You give that child a tablet, you give that child a phone, and just don't bother me. And that child's doing whatever they're doing on that tablet or on that doggone phone. And then you have a case that happened like with the little girl, Imani Hughes. Luckily she was found, but a 12-year-old little girl here in the Houston area, actually Missouri City, that's still the Houston area, was picked up by 1 a.m. by a 27-year-old Pookie. Now, they found the little girl. We covered that on the Black Congregation channel. That's why you need to go subscribe to the Black Congregation. You would have known what I'm talking about. They found her, but she was on the app Tagged. Tagged is not for children her age, but was her mama or whoever else, dad or whoever else, were they monitoring her usage? No. The tablet is not a babysitter. It's not. The cell phone is not a babysitter for your children. Children should know I'm going to randomly grab that phone or that tablet at any time and look at what you're doing. And if you're acting funny about it, I'm really going to look at it now. Because now you're acting funny about it all of a sudden. What you doing on here? I gotta go. I'm gonna go through the whole thing. If it takes me a day or two to go through it, I'll do it. And if I don't like how you acting, I'll just shut it off. There's no problem. With cell phones, you still can go get a track phone if you want them to have a cell phone. Basically, a track phone is just calling and texting, not none of them apps. So stop trying to make everybody else responsible for your laziness of parenting. That's just what it is. I get so sick and tired of parents today being lazy. Technology is great. Trust me, it's great. It really is. It's very beneficial. But at the same time, it doesn't mean you be lazy as a parent. Number two, before we get into this, let's talk about the Democrats, or Trump in particular. Let's talk about him. There was another question that, because, a lot of, people in our community, they just really stuck on a lot of things. So let me tell you my position on, if you hear me talking about Trump, I want you to know up front when you hear me talk about Trump. It's only 3 areas I'm going to talk about Trump in, for the most part. And many areas I'm not going to talk about Trump in. Right? So, one, when I'm bringing up the migrant crisis is affecting a lot of black people, okay? It's resources that's being taken away from our community, of course others, but we focus on what black Americans are doing, right? So black people in Chicago that I'm talking to, black people in New York that tells me things, black people in Boston, black people in Denver, black people in all these different sanctuary cities, that the migrant crisis has hit, and all these other black people are constantly telling me, I'm interviewing people. If you want to go hear an interview from someone out of Chicago, you can go to the Phillip Scott podcast. Just look on the front page. It's me and Capita Trust from Chicago doing a whole interview about the migrant crisis. I've seen just a little bit of the things that's going on in Chicago. Last time I was there in October of last year. So with the migrant crisis, Joe Biden has actually created the migrant crisis. And that is the truth. Tonight, we're going to talk about how he invited all the people to come up here to create the migrant crisis. And we have a video of him doing that, actually. Then, during the time of Trump, his presidency, he was the only person that was getting them out of here. Do you remember the story from Mississippi? They had this chicken plant. ICE raided it. Then what happened the next day? Black men went over there and got jobs. So that's just one example of what Trump was doing during his presidency versus Biden opening and flooding the zone, right? So in the area of the migrant crisis that's affecting a lot of people in Black America and also other Americans, yes, I do support Trump with handling the migrant crisis. Biden created the crisis. Number 2, in the area of businesses, yes, I do support Donald Trump in the area of business. Why? Because Donald Trump, number 1, he's been in business a long time. 2, some of the policies he put down for business actually was very beneficial for businesses. If you're a person that's in small business, which the majority of Americans are small business, a lot of his policies benefited you, especially the tax cut. It did benefit you. Trump talking about lowering it if he gets back in office from 21% for businesses to 15%. That would keep more money in the back pocket of businesses where they can actually help it with their employees and all of that. So we want to keep more of our hard-earned money in our pocket instead of giving it to foreign countries, right? So yes, with those three things, yes, I do support Trump. Now, what I don't depend on from a politician, I don't depend on a politician, Democrat or Republican, to solve all the issues in the black community. No, you can't put that on a Democrat or a Republican. That's on us to do. We supposed to be solving our problem in our community. Democrats is not going to sit up here and advocate nothing for black people like we should be advocating. Republicans is not going to advocate anything for black people like we should be advocating for our own people. Democrats won't stop racism. Republicans won't stop racism. Martin Luther King said a long time ago, there's no law that governs the affairs of the heart. And that's true. There's no law they can put down to stop people from being racist toward black people, whether they're Democrat or Republican. It's not happening. Only thing they can do is create a consequence of said action. But if people do not like you because you're a black person, then it is what it is. Now, I'm like, you don't have to like me. Just keep it to yourself and just don't put your hands on me. Don't touch my stuff and we good. You don't have to like me. I'm cool on that. A lot of times, some of you lean on the Democrats talking about civil rights. Well, what is civil rights at this point? What is that? Human rights is more important than civil rights. Malcolm X talked about human rights more than anything else. There's some doggone, even the Honorable Elijah Muhammad talked about that. How you going to have some civil rights without human rights? What happened to George Floyd was a human rights violation. We don't have human rights. Matter of fact, our so-called civil rights is on lease. They vote on our civil rights every so often to renew the civil rights bill. When Barack Obama, since you want to talk about Democrats, and we're going to get to what we're going to talk about, Barack Obama, Black America, including myself, went and voted for Barack Obama in 2008. We was all celebrating, yeah, my president is black and all that. We was happy about that, right? Not only did Barack Obama have the presidency, he had the House and he had the Senate. Since you talk about Democrats is going to protect our civil rights, why didn't Barack Hussein Obama and the Democrats in 2008 go and say, hey, we need to make the civil rights bill permanent so we don't have to keep voting on that? You know what I'm saying? This going to be permanent law. We don't have, it has no expiration date. Permanent law. Okay, fine. Let's get away from Barack Obama. Joe Biden, he had the same thing when he first came in, right? Y'all got out there and flipped Georgia blue. Okay, cool. Why didn't he do the same thing? But Democrats are going to protect our civil rights. I'm just saying. And yes, I put more pressure on Democrats because that's who we vote for. We vote 80 to 90% Democrat. We do not vote Republican. How I'm going to pressure Republicans and be on Republicans when black folks don't even vote for them? How? That's like how? Well, what the Republicans going to do for you? You ain't vote for them. You vote for Democrats. So all the conversation is going to be toward Democrats. And then some people, you're militant Democrats. Now, a lot of you are disgruntled right now, but you're still disgruntled Democrats. You're not an independent, you're just disgruntled. So some of you will say, you're mad at the Democrats. You say, I'm just going to sit on the couch. I ain't voting for nobody. But technically, you really would want to vote Democrat, but you're just disgruntled, so you'll choose the couch. You're not willing to say, okay, I'm going to see what policy maybe the other side may have. And even if they don't have a policy, I'm cool on the couch because I don't see a policy. But right now, just me personally, what I'm hearing from a lot of black people constantly in these cities, the migrant crisis is 911 for a lot of black people. Now, if you're cool on Biden, that tells me that the migrant crisis is not affecting you because you're not in one of these cities where a lot of our brothers and sisters are in. When you go see black homeless people on the streets, and then the migrants are living in shelters and in schools that were closed in the black communities, if you can physically go see that and not be angry, listen, I got more turned up by the migrant crisis after my visit to Chicago. I'm going to be 100 with you. I would talk about it here and there, But after I seen that little sister on the street and other black people on the street I saw in Chicago, and I was seeing Brandon Johnson just putting up the migrants, but yet we got our black American people on the streets, that's what got me more turned up. Believe it or not, that one interaction with that one young sister in Chicago got me real turned up by the migrant crisis and got me really turned up on Brandon Johnson and Biden and the Democrats a lot more because of what they're purposely doing to black people. So yes, it was the suffering of a black American young girl in Chicago that got me real turned up. Sorry, I don't like to see suffering. And I know, and somebody talking about Southern California down there, right? They talking about that. Southern California, look at Skid Row. Look at who's the majority of the homeless in California. It's our people. But in California, they're giving free health care to migrants, the Democrats. But I don't supposed to say nothing about that? I don't supposed to be bothered by my people on the streets? And last time I went to California, I seen it with my own two eyes as well. Letting you know, I'm not just picking things off the internet. I'm actually seeing these things with my own two eyes. Shame, like I said, shame on y'all for getting mad. I'm talking about your precious Democrats, and your precious Democrats got our people living on the streets. And our people vote. They vote in every election more than any other group for Democrats. But yeah, you mad? You mad at the wrong thing. So as you see at the bottom down here, the low birth rates cause panic in the per capita community. Now, why am I going to go into this today? Well, first, since we're talking about Joe Biden, let's start off with him first. What he's discussing real quick. You remember this video? This is a classic video from Joe Biden I'm going to play, and then we'll get into the man that's going to talk here in Congress. So let me cue up this Joe Biden video real quick. Won't take long.
If we cannot make significant progress on racial equity, this country is doomed. It is doomed, not just because of African Americans, but because by 2040, this country is going to be minority white European. You hear me? Minority white European. And you guys are going to have to start working more with Hispanics, who make up a larger portion of the population than y'all do.
All right, so many of you remember, that particular video from I think 2020 or so, right before the inauguration. All right, so I want to talk about a man here. It's a congressman, Republican congressman I'm talking about here, David Schweikert. He's from Arizona's 1st District. He's going to sound the alarm about birth rates. I want you to hear exactly what he's going to say. And we just got some questions that we need to ask. Because Congressman Schweikert is very, very, very concerned. So let's go ahead on and get that clipped up on the screen.
We got a problem. And it's all something almost no one here ever talks about. We're not having children. United States fertility rates have collapsed. This number's wrong. It's our latest number for last year is not 1.64, it's 1.63. France has a higher fertility rate than the United States. Even when you adjust for their immigration population, they still have a dramatically higher fertility. Most of Western Europe looks like us, and we're worse than a whole bunch of the world. How do you and I set public policy so 25 years from now, remember, Social Security is substantially a pay-as-you-go system. Today's workers are functionally paying for today's retirees. The trust fund was the shock absorber. Trust fund is disappearing. But my future generation of workers is going to be smaller. And you're already seeing this in school districts all over America, where the number of students they have are shrinking. Are we willing to have the really interesting discussion of, okay, are there things we could do economically to make it so family formation, so there's more children? There's things we could do to help, but almost every country it's tried has not been able to change fertility rates. I think in Hungary, I think I saw something that, third child, they buy you a house, fourth child, you get some sort of like prize, and it's barely ticked up their fertility rates. It's a really difficult question, happening all over the industrialized world. So if you can't really change it, do you actually build public policy to deal with it? Do you accept the fact that we're going to have a lot more automation? It means capital investment. Are we going to have to find ways to safely adopt artificial intelligence into society so the labor force is maximized in its value and what they earn and productivity? Those are policies we need to work on. You've seen the intellectual capital of the conversations we have on the floor here. How many of them are ready to actually have the reality of, hey, we need to set policy? Is this Republican or Democrat? It's demographics. There's a punchline here we need to absorb. This is a little uncomfortable, but this was deaths that are projected to exceed births. And the new math in 15 years, you got to understand what a big deal this is. I came behind this microphone a couple years ago, and I got some real crap that was sent to my office. And I think at that time I was saying, hey, in 21, 22 years, we're going to have more deaths than births in this country. And then it became 18 years. And then it became 17 years. The new math now is 15 years. In 15 years, the United States will have more deaths than births. The blip you see here is the pandemic. But if you actually look at the line, you can sort of understand, and here's our crossing. Somewhere before, a little before 2040, which is 15 years, we have more deaths than births. Now try to stabilize long-term benefits. There's ways to do it. This Congress right now is mathematically incapable of owning a calculator. But there's ways to do it. Well, we can't even put together a debt and deficit commission to have an honest conversation what's happening in our society demographically, borrowing-wise, interest rate-wise, because maybe it'll affect the next election. Does anyone actually care about their own pensions, let alone their kids and their grandkids? Because we lie. There's not magic money out there. If this inflation cycle didn't prove, those that believed in modern monetary policy, ta-da, you got 30 months, 36 months of high inflation. If that isn't the ultimate proof that the magic money theory didn't work.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard the presentation by the congressman, Republican congressman. And in the beginning, we played what Biden said a few years ago. Biden's a Democrat. And then you played with this Republican had to say. So we can safely say it doesn't matter what political party they represent. This is a concern. This is a problem. Now, if you listen to certain key words that he was saying, he mentioned not only the birth rates, but he also mentioned Europe. Now, Europe has nothing to do with this country, but why would you bring up Europe? Well, you're bringing up Europe and saying birth rates because that's who you're talking about. You're talking about your community. You're talking about the birth rates in your community globally is down, and you can't even figure out why. Even in Hungary, when they're incentivizing people to have children in Hungary, you're still not getting the birth rates up where you need them to be. They're not mentioning the birth rates of Black people. They're not mentioning the birth rates, definitely they mention birth rates of Hispanics, Asians, or any other group. They're more so worried about themselves because you have to think about it. Their greatest fear has always been, don't be the minority. Don't be that. Because we know what we have done, especially to the Black man and woman. We know exactly what we've done. And our greatest fear is if we become in the minority, they're going to do to us what we did to them. This guy won't even be here when all this stuff go down. I mean, I don't really see him, having to live that reality. Maybe his children, grandchildren, etc., maybe had to live some of that reality, but not him. But see, they think, years ahead. That's how they operate, right? Even though he'll be gone, he won't be here no more. He's still worried about, what about my children? I want to pass down white supremacy, white privilege, unequal pay, wealth gap. I want to make sure all that's passed down to my children. I don't want my children to basically go into squalor, but that's actually already happening. If you pay attention and look at the internet, they are suffering. The people in his community please don't get it twisted. They're not rich by a long shot. The Congress people are rich, and all the corporations and all that is rich, but the average everyday folks, they aren't rich like that. They're becoming more homeless. They're having to downsize to stay in cars, some of them, trailers. Some of them live on the street. I mean, they don't have a whole lot passed down to them at this point. Then on top of that, they're not having children. And yes, one person said in the chat earlier, that's why they struck down Roe v. Wade. Oh, yes. But see, let me tell you something. Like the old people say, but God. Let me tell you why I say but God. When Margaret Sanger, in her wicked and demonic self, came up with the idea of getting rid of children, she did it on the guise of not because of women's health. No. She said that we were too numerous, us, Black Americans, we were too numerous like weeds. So she devised her plan to bring that to our community through the Black preacher. That's why I have a lot of venom toward the Black preacher too, because he has been thoroughly assisting white supremacy and harming us in every which way. Through the Black preacher in Harlem, right? To bring that to Black women. The goal was to keep it and wipe us out. Now fast forward to today, and the reason why they shut that down, listen, they always got a propaganda talking about Black women. Oh, Black women, you just keep aborting your kids. Black women this, Black women that, Black women, Black women, Black women. No, Becky is getting rid of their kids at a higher rate than a Black woman had ever have. They try to make the Black woman the face of that. You know why if they wasn't getting rid of their children in the numerous numbers, why do they fight so hard for it? And they fight so hard for inexpensive and cheap ones through Planned Parenthood. They put them in the Black community, so for twofold. They put them in the Black community so Black people can have easy access, or Black women and girls can have easy access to go do that, right? And Becky can come into those communities too in the guise of night, or when putting a hoodie on where she can't be seen by her community, right? She go to them places and get her inexpensive procedure done, and then she go back to her area. You understand? I mean, a lot of them have used that procedure as almost like a form of birth control. And when her man started noticing, say, hey, wait a minute, hold on. Where's all these babies in our community? Where they going? And then they all sat down and started talking and say, oh, no. The Republicans for sure say, no, we got to get rid of this Roe v. Wade stuff because this is going to make us the minority. And then once they did Roe v. Wade, now we know some states said, hey, they want it. Some states said that they don't want it. Now you got states that's trying to put laws on the books to say if you leave the state and go get that procedure done, they're trying to pass them kind of laws that you still can be charged because you're going across state lines to go do something in another state. Oh, they trying. But it's not for us. It's for them. It's to stop Becky. But see, the problem is, like the old people say, they didn't gave Becky wings. And her wings is not going to be clipped. That's for sure. That ain't happening. That's his own fault. It had nothing to do with us, right? So you look into also Europe. Europe is having the same issues, the same problems about birth rates. But look at the history of Europe and what they have done to all people, definitely of African descent. Look at what they have done to different Asian countries. Look what they have done to Latin American countries. Look what they have done to Middle Eastern countries, what they're still doing today. Now, you can believe this or not believe this. I want you to pay attention to this phenomenon too. Becky has no problem having children, actually. Becky, how is it that when she with her man, she's not having a gang of kids, but then she go lay up with a black man and have a gang of kids all of a sudden? Or if she's laying up with a Hispanic or Asian, whoever she's laying up with, she having a gang of kids with them, but just with her man, she ain't having a gang of kids. Now, in the scriptures, it teach, and you don't have to believe me, that God can curse from heaven, can curse the womb. And he has done that plenty of times in history. He has cursed the womb. And if God cursed the womb, then you will not be plentiful on the earth if God himself cursed the womb. Not Black America, not Africans, not Caribbeans, not nobody like that has that power or that ability to do that. If you look at all the things that's done to Black Americans, they say, oh my God, Black numbers have shot up. And guess what? When you look at them again, they're going to shoot up even more because of these rulings that you put in. We're going to have way more kids than what we had before. Their number still is going to constantly be decreasing. Now, let's go back to that part of the video. Let me key this up. I want to show something on the screen that maybe y'all didn't pay attention to, but I did. Hold on.
We got a problem.
Let me see if I
and
can
it's all
fast forward
something
to this one point of the screen here. Give me a second. That's not the one I'm looking for. Where's the other slide? That's the slide I'm looking for. Okay. So during the presentation, he said, you see that big dip right there? He said that was the pandemic. Now, I want to point that dip out right there. You see how it just went over a cliff during the pandemic. You had so many of them, which they don't want to talk about this. You had so many of them lost their life during the pandemic. Like, go back and read and go back and watch. Even in Europe, we're not even looking at the European numbers. Go back when the first wave of the pandemic happened. And I mean, so many of them in Europe was passing away. They were freaking out. Then, if you remember, while in Europe, they were passing away so much from the virus, then they even looked up and they said, wait a minute, hold on. Why Africa not getting it? They say, we suffering over here, but they not getting a thing. And if you go and look, even at their numbers, the pandemic numbers, how they got the pandemic in the African continent at that time is the folks coming over there bringing it. And check this out. The African country that had the most COVID-19 deaths was South Africa. Now, I'm just kind of speculating as a person of history, But South Africa is the only country that has about 4 million of them there in South Africa. But I'm not saying people didn't pass away in Ghana, etc. Think about it. Let's go back to Haiti, since we're talking about Haiti. Haiti, and I covered this, only had 20 people pass away of the virus. 20. And at the time, President Moise Jovenel, they wanted him to, take their medication. He said, nah, I'm good. He said, we manage it on our own. We cool. And all of a sudden, do you remember? You remember what happened to President Moise? Now look at Haiti today. Do you remember President Magufuli in Tanzania? He was like, yeah, I'm cool on that. We're going to do things on our own. We got our own herbal this or whatever. We cool, right? Then all of a sudden, something happened to President Magufuli. He's not here anymore, right? And then you remember the president of Madagascar. Remember, he had a herbal drink that he was promoting. You remember that? And he even went over there to Tanzania and brought a shipment to Tanzania. He got with President Magufuli. This is history. And after he did that, they had ended up catching a French military assassin that was trying to take the life of the president of Madagascar. This is not conspiracy theory. This is all something you can go Google what I'm saying right now. Google it all. I don't do conspiracy theory. That's not what I do. I do things that you can go Google and look into or say, man, wow, he's thinking about this stuff. That's what I do here. I have to, But all that shenanigans that was going on during the pandemic, and that's come back to this country. The numbers were so high, once they got over 1 million, they stopped counting. Do you remember them counters every day? They had the counters all going on constantly. Then I was talking to people who worked in the healthcare industry. Yes, let's not get it twisted. Black Americans did definitely pass away during the time of the pandemic. And that particular virus exposed our poor health care. Because you had poor health care, poor pre-existing conditions that you never handled or whatever, that particular virus exposed it. But you better believe that the reason why they were so frantic at the time to get an inoculation or hurry up and get one out, let's think about it. Do you really think that if it was mostly getting us, they would have did anything about it? You know good and well they would have done nothing if it was just something that was getting us. But when you seen them so frantic, look at all this money that they were just passing during the time of the virus. Trying to hold the economy, they said that they were acting so frantic about that whole situation because it was affecting them a lot more than it was affecting us. And then how many times people were attacked? People, now they come out literally saying the things that people already said. And I'm still trying to be careful in how I talk about it because, these platforms. But what I'm saying is that big dip sped up the time because, see, at first, Biden said 2040. This guy say the time has sped up into the 2030s now. And it's probably going to speed up even more so. I don't know what's going to happen. But it's going to speed up even more. This is why they're getting more like, we just got to be frantic about what we do. And, we got to do this. Now, some of them thinking, that's on the Democrat side, well, let's flood the zone with migrants. Let's flood the zone and classify them as white. And then we can operate operate through them because they got the numbers. We'll be controlling them, holding their immigration status over their head, et cetera, right? We'll use them for the manual labor. We'll have them maybe dissipate the black vote and everything so black people don't have any kind of political clout. All those plans not going to work because them same migrants is going to turn against them. Because them same migrants, once they realize they got the numbers and everything, they're not going to be behest to them. They're going to be hostile. These new migrants they bringing in, I don't know if y'all know, but these new migrants, they're going robbing them. They had a ring of migrants up there in New York going to them rich white areas and hitting the licks. Hitting a lick. Why all of a sudden do you think Kathy Hochul was talking about, yeah, they commit crimes, they need to be deported? Like, whoa, hold on. That's not how Democrats talk. What you mean, Kathy Hochul talking about migrants need to be deported if they gonna commit a crime? Well, because they hitting them rich areas. See, Miguel and them, they not trying to nickel and dime with black people. They say, oh no, Bob over there got that mansion. Oh, I gotta get it. Oh, I gotta get it. That's what's happening. You mentioned the Chinese. Now, let me tell you how cold they are. So the Chinese are coming in illegally too. But check this out. The Chinese are moving like in silence. So basically they come over here. They said that the Chinese government is allowing them to have phones and everything. And they have them all set up with places for them to go when they get over here, and they don't want them to take nothing from the American government. No handouts, no nothing, because if they take a handout, then they can be traced. So they get in here and they people go make sure they good. And that's the difference with the Chinese ones coming in. It's because they can go just dip into their communities and nobody would know anything. See, like if the main ones coming in from Latin America, if they would just go to their communities and stay there and kind of be out of sight, out of mind, nobody would be talking about a migrant crisis right now. The only reason we're talking about it is because we're literally seeing the resources being taken away. But if they do it like the Chinese is doing it, then nobody would know anything. It's so many Chinese coming across that southern border too. Oh yes, they are. They coming right on across, but you don't hear much talk about the Chinese ones because they in their communities. Yeah, you say some of them coming through Canada too. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, some of them are the triads. Some of them are probably, like I say, a lot of military age males is coming across. I keep using that term, military age males, because now let's go back to the Trump thing. If I was Trump and I could become president, the first ones I'm deporting is the military age males. They gotta go. They can't be here. Oh no, they gotta go. I say a bunch of young men hanging out. Oh no, that spells trouble. I can't have you here, right? So they're concerned about the birth rates. They're very, very concerned. But this is what I would say to, the per capita community. It is inevitable what's happening. So you got to think about your future. I want you to think about yourselves for a minute. Think about yourself. Don't think about black people, nobody. Think about your children being comfortable in the new reality of being a minority. I want you to think about that. And if you really fear people doing to you what you did to others, well, let's go ahead and address Black America first. I think it would benefit you and your future generations a lot more if you make it right with Black America. So how do you make it right? The first thing you have to do, while you still have a chance to do it, reparations in the form of cash payments. You're not doing it to be benevolent. Even though you could say you're doing it to be benevolent, we don't care if you're lying about it. You're doing it for yourself. You're doing it to gain a friend. So when you become the minority, then people may be a little bit sympathetic to you because you maybe was a current generation that said, my ancestors were wrong, so let me pay reparations in the form of cash payments, right? So when you become the minority, a lot of black people will remember that and they'll be like, okay, well, yeah, I mean, I'm cool on them. They pay their reparations, right? But if you don't pay reparations, if you don't pay it, then you become the minority and you may deal with, I'm just saying may, I'm not saying it's gonna happen, you may deal with some hostilities because now your numbers is not the same and you never made it right when you had the chance to make it right. So I'm saying do reparations for yourself. Don't do it for us, even though it's like a win-win. It's like you getting a win to secure things in the future. We get a win to make things right from the past. That's like the only thing that I can advise, like just to be helpful, is just to pay reparations in the form of cash payments. That's all. And just settle that beef and that's it. Don't listen to the people that's older. And the people I'm talking to, I'm talking about the Gen Xers, I'm talking about the millennials and Gen Z in the per capita community. I'm talking to you. I believe you're the people going to have to do the reparations. Your older ones, your baby boomers and silent generation people, they're not going to do it. So you guys going to have to do it. And y'all are a lot more integrated than maybe those older generations were. So it would be better for you to do that. Don't listen to them because they're not going to be here when you're dealing with the problem of the minority. Because some people view it as a problem. So, do it for yourself. Just do it for yourself. Don't do it for us. Oh, you mentioned the Ukrainians. Well, when it comes to the Ukrainians, yeah, they've been coming over to this country too, but also they've been quiet about it. And they go to their communities. What I mean by their communities, talking about the white community. So they're not at the hotels. Or do you see them at the hotels? No. Do you see them at the shelters? No, you don't. They have absorbed them into the greater white community. They have. So of course you're not going to see them. Yeah, the Chinese and Ukrainians, But when you're out of sight and out of mind, people don't think about you. And yes, they papering them up too, but I think Sister Vicky covered that, how much money they getting. But most people don't pay attention to it because you don't see them. Yeah, that's why I say if they can do reparations for themselves, not for us, just take us out of it because I know how a lot of them are. Just take us out of it. Just do it to say, look at it as an investment in the future to gain a potential friend, or if not a friend, just to gain a person that will be maybe just cool with you. Y'all believe in investments. Y'all do. So invest now into reparations, before that day comes. Because that day is approaching really quick. I mean, look at it. We're almost in mid-March already. We're almost in mid-March. That according to Biden and them, that doomsday clock is ticking. So wouldn't it be better to do reparations? Wouldn't it be better? Like I said, I'm just saying this on a friendly way. I'm not saying it in no mean way. I'm just saying just do reparations for yourselves. Yes, Phoenix, Biden did say that, but this man that brought charts say they're looking around 20, 30 something now, in the 2030s now. But I believe it's going to speed up probably to the early 2030s. I don't know what's going to happen, but something's going to go down where that time's going to speed up. Yeah, you mentioned Thanos, and that's the funny part. That guy did say you had a blip. That's funny because, yeah, you mentioned Thanos. But, yeah, that pandemic was a snap. Yeah, that was Infinity Gauntlet for sure. Yeah, Thanos and yep, it really was. I mean, real talk. It was a Thanos situation. I mean, they were bringing refrigerated trucks. I mean, think about that. We've never seen nothing like that on U.S. soil, refrigerated trucks, because you couldn't put enough people in the morgues. That was crazy. Biden or Trump don't even want to pay reparations. Well, let me tell you what Trump said. I remember he said that he think it's an interesting concept, but he don't think it'll pass. That's the only thing that he said. He didn't say that I don't want to sign it. Biden said that they would have to have a commission and all of that. So Biden never said he wouldn't sign it either. He just said that he's all for a commission to study reparations. I could have sworn he said something about not cash payments or something to that effect, but I know Biden says a commission. Trump said in his last presidency he thinks it's an interesting idea, but he don't think it would pass. That's really what was being said. So I can't really say Biden or Trump would do anything. But do we really need Biden or Trump to get reparations at this point? I mean, y'all kind of forgot our black history, and that's why y'all stuck. Is because, do you really think the freedoms we have today, we voted for it? We couldn't vote in this country at one point in time. So how do you think we got it? We got it on our own. We put foot to pavement. We boycotted. We did everything we can to fight this white supremacist toe to toe. We didn't say, well, I'm going to go vote for this candidate and let's just hope, Jesus, he do something for us. No, black people's history in America is always, we get it out the mud, we do it ourselves. Like some of y'all same people in the chat be like, we got a great, awesome history, but then you don't lean back into your history and say, wait a minute, it's time for us to do things ourselves. Of course, Trump is not going to solve all our problems. Biden not going to do it either. Democrats not going to do it. Republicans don't do it. I don't look at Democrats or Republicans to solve my personal problems in my family or anything. Like politicians are not the end all be all. It's on you as an individual to solve your own personal problems. As a community, it's our responsibility to solve a community problem. You can't put it all on Biden or Trump to solve our problems. That's not even how the function of government works, actually. Y'all leaning on them to fix problems that we can fix literally overnight. But our biggest issue, we're too individualistic. We don't want to work together. Like other groups, they ain't got no problem staying 10 to a house if that's what they got to do. We don't want to do that. No, I ain't staying by him. I don't like him. I got to have my own and all that. And trust me, I understand having your own. I know. But we don't want to do that. Even black immigrants will stay a bunch of people into a house. And then they all help each other, and that's how they getting up as well. We used to do that in the black community, but now we all acting basically like the folks, individualistic. But the folks know when to be individualistic and they know when to unify. And they say when it comes to us, it's time to unify. They good at unification based on color. They great about that. I give them that. They are on code. We are suffering the problem because we don't have enough people on code to say it's about the community. And we can do individual thing later. Let's make sure we all are good. We got too many people selling out. There's no consequence for selling out. So if you're looking for a Democrat or Republican or Trump or Biden to solve your problems per se, then I'm promised to tell you, you will be sadly disappointed. The only thing they can do is give you a policy to make it look easier for you to solve your own problems. That's it. And not sabotage you. That's it. That is it. But yeah, you say they on code out of fear. We should be on code out of whatever. It don't matter about if they're scared. Whatever motivates them, they doing it. We should have been doing it. The problem is, and I've said this before, the only time we really get on code and super cop up, it has to be a blood sacrifice. What I mean, like a George Floyd. We have to watch something so horrific happen to a black person that we say, oh my God, forget this. And we all throw away our differences, whether if you a street dude or you're a corporate dude. If you a poor person, you're a rich person. If you are highly educated or no educated, we throw all that mess to the side and we just unify real quick, but we always wait until a blood sacrifice happens. And think about it. We don't get on code unless something major happen through them. And that's the problem. Them folks don't need a blood sacrifice to get on code. Whether it's fear or whatever, they do it. But with that being said, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on the stream tonight. Greatly appreciate it. Make sure you click the subscribe button if it's your first time here. That way you know when we come back and make more content, whether it's me streaming or the wonderful, great journalists we have here bringing stories from the continent of Africa, America, and different places throughout the world. Make sure you subscribe. Click that like button. It's very, very important. Those of you who download the African Diaspora News Channel app, thank you. That helps us out a lot. We have stories there that we don't post on YouTube because YouTube have their own rules, and we're not going to post things here that they do not want. So make sure you go over there. We're covering, like, for instance, something that Geno Jennings said about what happened with the U.S. and Africa. We couldn't put it here. He was going in too much. So we made sure to put it over there. I think Sister Emma covered that one. And many other stories that we have that we do not put here because it just wouldn't pass the smell test with YouTube. So you can get a monthly membership, a quarterly membership, or yearly. Yearly is a lot better. That way you just do it one time and forget it. And you have it on Android and also Apple App Store. Also, the website is all the same, just the same membership work everywhere. So thank y'all for listening and join us on the podcast tonight as we'll be talking about Biden and how he invited the migrant